unfortunately, you know, Kanye endured a time in hip-hop culture where it wasn't cool to be, you know, expressive in the way he's been and to wear tight clothes and colorful things. And you know, he kind of surpassed the whole machismo era and made it cool to be expressive and step outside of the box. But I often give those who come from his lineage, the Big Seans and the Sci-Hi, the Princes, and everybody who's come out since Kanye, I give credit to Common that Kanye is a byproduct of his lineage and what he's done since the early 90s. And all that he is today, after reading this book, you will find is because a lot has to do with his mother, Dr. Hines, who stood by his side. When, you know, the first story I read, and I'm going to go back to your beginnings, is you say some of your first emotions you ever felt were, I think, happiness and fear.
Love and fear.
Yeah. And one of your first memories, it seems like, is an incident that happened with your father.
Yes.
And I want to see if Dr. Hines could talk about the time that, you know, early in your life and how old you were at that time, that your father actually kidnapped the two of you, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yes. And drove you to Seattle? Yes?
On the way to Seattle.
On the way to Seattle.
We didn't quite get there. We were on the way to Seattle.
What happened?
Basically, and it really seems so long ago, it's really hard to, you know, realize that was me. So if I missed some of it, I had to go back and read what the book said, okay? I have read the book. But basically, it was during a time when he was playing in the ABA, and he felt, to make a long story short, that it would be great for him to return with his family. But during that time, basically we were not a family because he was going through some struggles in his own life. But we didn't have much choice. Rashid was actually going with me. He was about 4 years old. And because it was at gunpoint, there wasn't much choice. But the whole time, I think I was always thinking that I didn't think he would really harm us, but knowing that he was not himself, I wasn't sure. So I always thought about what I could do, and what I did was tell him I had a headache. Simply sent him into the store to get the pills, and then I dropped them in his pot. So he got very sleepy. Because I put about a bottle of aspirin in the pot, and it does seem funny now. And when he got sleepy, so he laid down, and I simply told her she was going out to play and go to the door, and so we left and called the police.
Do you remember a little bit of that?
I actually don't remember it, but it's somewhere in my subconscious and somewhere in my psyche that I know it happened. And you know, a lot of what I deal with in this book, and a lot of things I recognize as a human being now, is that so many things that happen to us as children, you know, we deal with as adults too. And if we really, some of the things we don't even know that we're dealing with, and it may be an abandonment issue, it may be you know, you may be insecure about anything, you don't know where it comes from. But you know, I do realize that I had some drama take place in my life just by not even having my father there, or just seeing my mother go through struggle as a little child. And I realized that, and that those things affect you, you know, and you have to deal with them at some point in your life so that you can heal. And I guess hopefully that's what I've been doing in my process, and also doing with this book.
And then you and your father, you guys are actually, your father's in your life.
Oh, yes, sir. My father, I love my father. He's a great human being. Like I love him because he's like a spiritual guy, but he's a street guy too, you know. And he named me Lonnie Rashid Lynn, along with my mother's approval. His name is Lonnie. His name is Lonnie. He said he wanted to mix a Christian name, which he looked at as Lonnie, with Rashid, a Muslim name, and because he was reading the Quran also, and it just showed me his perspective on life by being that type of human being that was like open to God and knowing that God existed in different forms of religion, which is a progressive way of thinking. But at the same token, he was dealing with, like my mother said, his own struggles and problems. But as we developed and I started growing up, I was able to talk to my father more. summers I would go visit him, and we just developed a bond. And it was bigger than just him being there all the time. I knew that he loved me. I knew it was, you know, I knew his words always stuck with me. Like, so I remember me and my cousin went out there. He was talking to us about girls and how to deal with girls. It is, you know, it was a lesson from a guy who, you know, at some points in his life been a womanizer, but he still had a lot of heart in what he told us and wanted us to do the right thing. So, and he was one thing I loved about, and I love about my dad. He's always an honest guy. He won't, like this story, he'll tell it and say, yeah, I was doing this and I did that, you know. So that, I think that helped me to be more honest with myself too.
You actually, each chapter of the book starts off with a letter that you wrote to a particular person. Chapter 3 actually starts off with a letter to your pops, right? Did he read it?
I don't know if he read it yet. I mean, he probably will get a hold of the book. I know he was like, I don't know if I want to tell everything in this book. And he usually, because for those who are aware of my music, obviously my father has been on, since Resurrection, he's been on every album besides the last one. And he will appear on the next album. So his words always were around me and surrounded by me, but I don't know if he's read the book and read that letter yet.
Okay, it's a great letter. Another thing, I just got the book, so I'm just going to talk off the top of my head what I remember from things I read. It was a moment in this book, and I don't want to tell everything because I want to, obviously want everybody to read it. There's a moment in the book, and I'm going to see if Dr. Hines remembers this moment, because I think this moment was a crucial moment in your development as a person and also as an entertainer, having the ability to be bilingual, so to speak. In other words, communicate on every level, from the streets